Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October edition of Techspert Talks. I'm Troy Rainey, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today's presentation is Qlik Cloud Reporting Evolution with our own Andrew Kruger. Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Troy. Thanks for having me on today. Excited to be here to talk about our reporting roadmap. I've been here over 6 years and certainly an exciting time as we've seen the maturity of our client managed offering, certainly in terms of Qlik Printing, and we've really started to focus on how to deliver reporting capabilities in a cloud ecosystem. And I'm looking forward to sharing more about that with everyone today.
Exciting, thanks. From a high level, we're going to be looking at a lot of the cloud reporting capabilities now, focusing mostly on the enterprise style reporting and all the report task management capabilities, and largely what's going to be coming in the near future. Andrew, can you tell us, just sort of highlight how reporting has become much more readily available for Qlik Cloud users?
Yeah. As we look at the evolution of Qlik Cloud Analytics, one of the interesting tasks was in the fun parts of what we've been doing in the roadmap is understanding what use cases were successful for customers and looking at how best to deliver those in a cloud ecosystem. In order to paint this picture, I do have to start with a legal disclaimer, which says I'm going to be talking about roadmap capabilities. When we talk about timelines and features, things may change, may evolve. It's not a commitment per se. What this also allows me to do is to give the full picture of where we are and where we're going in the near term to really express sort of that enterprise reporting use case journey. So, if we look at what the enterprise reporting capabilities are on Qlik Cloud today, it's been quite an exciting journey, right? And I think one of the elements of enterprise reporting use cases on Qlik Cloud is there's definitely a direct task-based control experience like customers would know from Qlik Printing and administrative context. There's also Qlik application automation, where we've enabled as part of your automation flows, you can also complete some reporting tasks as well. And then we're enhancing that in-app capability in Q4 of this year with more operational controls and some pixel perfect authoring as well. So we've got a number of authoring moments to support enterprise use cases that range in complexity. And then we've got a number of moments where you can control those tasks that reach any stakeholder on the platform.
Yeah, this is a nice overview to see what capabilities are already available and what's soon to come. So what are those enterprise reporting use cases that Qlik Cloud addresses?
We've got, simplicity of just using dashboards as that composition point for your reports. Tabular reporting capability with an Excel add-in that allows you to author those more tabular-centric reports that many, many customers require as part of their business processes. And then in Q4, we've got that high fidelity pixel perfect. And I think people are going to be pretty excited with what I show in a moment about how we've brought that into the in-app experience as well. From a task management perspective, we've got in-app task control, and we've also got Qlik application automation, which offers some complementary reporting capability. Of course, all these are public APIs. So if you have system integration type use cases or embedded style use cases, you can start to consider those options. And then, of course, from an enterprise reporting control perspective, you can execute burst reporting. That's that per user recipient-based filtering. So you've got a single report template, you've got a single task, but because there's recipients that each need different data, it will execute that per user type of output. And that could be because of filtering that's on a per user declared in a recipient list. Or if you're going against users who are actually on your Qlik platform in cloud, it's going to respect section access in certain use cases as well. That cycling capability, we have an update coming in Q4 around cycling for that in-app task management. You could always do that in automations. And then that dynamic composition with pages and levels, where sometimes you need to repeat segments of content on a single sheet, or you're repeating pages within a document as well. And finally, you're delivering to email, which is very traditional, but we are introducing cloud file store channels as well. So lots of flexibility in terms of how you enable those reports.
It's very cool and exciting. All of this reporting starts from the app. Can we see what it looks like?
Yeah, so what we've actually done is for those that have the ability to be a developer within an app.
Oh, the reporting section's right there. What kind of reporting tasks are managed here?
For Tabular, and soon later in Q4, our pixel perfect capability. And these are scheduled activities that control the distribution for our reports. We have our filters, is essentially bookmarks under the hood, but it allows us to assign filters to recipients as well as to put a filter on a task.
Can we start by looking at one of those tasks you've already built there?
Yeah, so here I've got a task that I've set up. And this is a tabular report template in this situation. I've been able to give the task a title and a description. We've got our file name, we've got our format. In this case, it's Excel, or I can opt for PDF. And I can set my filter, so I can use the filters that I've created in the app to reduce the data in the task. But coming in Q4, we will have the cycling feature, and that's the ability to repeat the task execution per recipient over a set of dimensional values. So in this case, the region. So what's going to happen is it's going to produce a file report for each region, for each recipient.
Wow. And that's something we could do already using automation, but the functionality has been moved natively inside a reporting task. Very cool. What's next?
In the next view, we're actually going to have who are we distributing to, users and groups. And then we've got our email distribution and we've got our folder. So if we wanted to go to a SharePoint location, we would do so here. But in this case, this task is configured to send over email. And then finally, we've got our schedule, and we do have a range of flexibility around schedule, including when data is refreshed.
Oh, wow.
I do always want to introduce a warning in these situations. That could produce a lot of reports. So be sure you know that volume of reports that you're going to be pushing out.
That is a lot of options for control there, building report tasks. Very nice.
And you've just seen a roadmap item around the cycling capability there too.
So we've got some tasks. Is there a way to see the task history?
Yeah, so this is something that we know people have been asking for since we released the tabular reporting. What we're delivering in Q4 is we have a task history here. This is really focused on being able to see what's going on in the task.
Yeah,
right?
I see a little error icon on that one.
Exactly. And this is a simple task history that shows up to 3 months of data. And now that can be a lot of data. So we do have some filters. And really, it's just going to indicate start time and end time, who it's sent by, delivery channel, recipients, reports generated. But as you highlighted, sometimes things don't always go correctly. Certainly, this has been some great feedback from our customers. So I can see that the filter was incorrect.
Okay.
This is very clear. I can manage this myself. We've also introduced an error code and a trace ID. So if it was something that you needed to make a support call, you can copy that detail. When you make the call, you have this information available. So it just accelerates that support activity as well.
That's excellent. Coming from
Yes.
support, being able to copy that critical error code information is fantastic.
Yeah, just trying to make everyone's life a little bit smoother.
That's really cool. And I like how it's kind of builds it visually into a timeline so you can see the history.
Absolutely. Just quickly, I want to touch on, filters. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, this is essentially using bookmarks under the hood. Very simple to create a filter. And then you can select from the dimension values within the app. You can do the, exclude, override, alternate states. So all the power you've got in bookmarks, and you can manage your filters. What you're then going to do is in your recipient list, you're going to assign those filters to different users. Here, I've got some filters set up, and when these execute, it's going to reduce the data for each user by the filter that's there. And you can see we've also got groups. We allow distributing to a group, which makes things much more efficient for the report developers. The exciting thing with the recipients is to understand that this is actually loaded into the app as data. So easiest way to do it is to upload via Excel, but you can also connect to different data sources. And this is all done in load script. And this is all documented in the help section, but any source you can connect to with load script, you can load your recipients from.
Very nice. So you don't have to be a user on the tenant to receive a report then?
Great point. Yes, you can send this data to anyone in your recipient list. You are absolutely correct. You can reach any stakeholder.
Great. Can we talk about the report templates?
Yes, we should probably go there next. We'll go back to a sheet. One aspect of the templates, you can actually enable those in an interactive mode, and the user can actually just download this to their desktops. It's now generated. It's coming down to my system.
So this is a report generated from a template on demand and downloaded to your computer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is fulfilled, and here we're starting to see that looping activity, right? So we can see that this is a sales manager report. So we have a tab here for each of their sales reps that report to them.
It's cool to see what a tabular report looks like. Can you show us how this was built?
Yeah, so maybe actually let's do that. Let's go look specifically at the template. What we have for authoring tabular reports in Qlik Cloud is we actually have an add-in. We're using Microsoft add-on technology for Office 365 that allows you to connect to that source app. And essentially what that's allowing me to do is I can use the objects, whether it's the source data for those objects or the visualizations, in creating a template that will be used to produce those reports when fulfilled with data. You can actually see some of the template elements here. We can put placeholders for the actual image itself. But here we can see value references. Report developers will be familiar with this, especially those that know Qlik NPrinting, because it's a direct parallel to that experience.
So we're in Excel and you've got the Qlik add-on, so it's connecting to your app, and you basically, a report developer will build the report template in Excel, since the final result will be an Excel document. So they're just pulling in different elements from that Qlik app into Excel to build the template that they plan on delivering down the line.
Yes, and they can actually see a list of all the sheets that are in the app. They can get a small preview. If I'm adding a table, it looks like this experience here.
I think this is one of the coolest features we've added recently. So I love showing this off.
It is pretty cool, and it's very powerful too, right? Because you can actually add in variables and expressions. So if there's variables in the app you want to use, and you can use Qlik expressions as well. And the final thing I should show is that levels and pages. If you recall the sample report we just showed, we saw a repetition by a sales rep.
Oh, right. So it will repeat this view for each sales rep this report is distributed to.
Yes, very, very powerful ability to author tabular style reports in what is very familiar to everyone, which is that Excel experience. If we look at the outsource for a second, Troy, this is the result of that report being produced. Here you see that full transaction list, and then here you see the pivot that's been generated from it.
Nice. And when you build the template using the Qlik add-on, does it get saved automatically in the tenant as a report template?
That's a great question. So what you have to do is this source report file will live in your Office 365 ecosystem. When you want to take that as your source, then you will go over to your tenant and you will upload that into the templates section. So here you can see that you can upload a template and you can see it says Microsoft Excel. And again, we're talking roadmap here. You're starting to see what's coming in Q4. There's a Pixel Perfect Designer template you can also use. So let's stay with Excel for a moment. And we'll just show that for a moment. So here you can actually see where I've uploaded this template.
So Andrew, I noticed there's a button in the upper right-hand corner, something about create Pixel Perfect template.
That's right. So this is what is coming in Q4. It's very excited by this. It is a very advanced tool. If you recall at the outset, I said, hey, you can use everything from simple dashboards, which are you've already put the time to build the dashboard, so you can use that in a sheet-based report. You can use your tabular capability, sample report. This will be familiar to those who've seen it in printing, but it's cloud updated library. On our first release of Qlik Printing in 2025, we'll have an export feature to be able to bring out your pixel perfect reports from Qlik Printing. But this really allows for this banded style of report authoring. You've got a toolbar on the left-hand side, and then you've got the ability to connect to data objects within your Qlik Sense app to be able to control your presentation. And what's beautiful about this is it's the same pop-out to navigate through the sheets and the objects that are in your app to be able to bring those in.
Can you show us what a completed Pixel Perfect template looks like?
Yeah, so this is using the old Northwind data set. In order to explain this effectively, I will run a preview. Here we can see a really standard customer order. I have filtered in this case on the customer name, and it's going to produce an order summary for each of the orders. Nicely paginated, page numbers on the bottom as well. Really clean for that customer style of report delivery, right?
You got different font sizes, bold, it's all laid out neatly.
Exactly. Very advanced controls here. And so if we just look at how this is composed, and the outer band is basically saying, I'm going to take that customer table. So this is going to loop over the information for each customer. It's got the standard logo, but we're giving it the customer name and giving it the header. And then we've got the next band. This is where we want to review the order information. And then we've got one inner band, which is the order table itself, and it's going to produce the repetition of each line item in the order. And then, of course, we see the shipping is actually at the order level as well. It's a banded report capability to allow that flexibility to be able to control that repetition of presentation. You've got a lot of control by bringing in visualizations. You can start to set your headers and your footers, and we even have controls in this toolbox. There's a table of contents as well. This is a much more powerful type of editor. It's actually embedded into the experience, which, one of the things we heard, Troy, from customers was that they love the continuity of the tabular reporting. Sometimes it is a little challenging. Some people have to work with IT to actually get that Office 365 component deployed into their environment, depending on the organizational environment and the restrictions around their Office 365 ecosystem. In this case here, we've got an actually embedded authoring experience as well. So again, just a range of flexible options for authoring reports within the platform.
Oh, this level of detail and complexity and all the tools that are available, it looks really fantastic. And I know client managed customers are asking for this, so it's great to see it in the cloud right there. What level of subscription is necessary for all these capabilities you're showing us?
Oh, that's a really good question. Always refer back to our product terms. You can find it on Qlik.com at product terms. Work with your Qlik representative to make sure you understand your subscription. But every subscription has a introductory amount of reports that they can run. In fact, all of these capabilities are available to all customers. Now, you will need a value add service to be able to send out a large volume of reports. So again, refer back to your Qlik representative. But the beautiful thing is that there is an entry level. Everyone can get started with these capabilities with nearly all subscription to the Qlik Cloud platform.
Do you have another report example we can look at?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to quickly show, in this case, this is just a line of business report. I am highlighting here how you've got that table of contents capability, which is naturally there. This is a ClickSense visualization, works perfect on the sheet, but I might want to have some more finer tuned visualizations, and the Pixel Perfect library does allow that. So here we've actually got a Spark line that we've brought in. Again, we've used a data binding to be able to bring in that data. So the data that's representing this is sourced from the app. Here we've got some native visualizations that are coming from that library as well.
Could you go back to page 3? So just so I understand it, we're looking at there is a native visualization from Qlik Analytics. And
This
right
one
below
here.
that, yeah, that's something you built just in this template using the Spark lines?
Exactly, yes. If we go down to the template here, this is just bound to an image that we've brought in from the ClickSense app, as we would do
Okay.
in the add-in. This one here, though, this is actually a visualization that's brought in from the Spark line. It's this object that's in the toolbar over here.
Okay. So
And
this is
then,
part of that Pixel Perfect editor.
exactly, yep. Similarly, this object here is also brought in from the chart toolbox over here.
Very cool. So can combine the best of both worlds, what you've already built from the app, native visualizations there, but also something specific for reporting.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for showing this off. It's a great example.
Yeah. For today, I've given a good sneak peek of what's coming in Q4. We've increased and improved the task control by introducing task history, by introducing the cycling capability. I should also mention that with the cycling capability, there will be an expansion of the guardrail as well. So you will actually be able to distribute more unique reports for a task as well. So customers should just stay tuned, call it late in Q4 for these updates to roll out. And I think we've got a wide array of reporting capabilities in Qlik Cloud today. So I hope everyone's pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Well, now it's time for Q&A. Please enter your questions in the Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your On24 console. I'll just read them from the top. First question. Will there be functionality to load report filters?
That's a great question. So that I would say is on the roadmap. We certainly know that we've got that recipient import capability that's there. And at the moment, you have to create those filters one by one. And as we continue to mature the scale of the different controls, we know that we need to offer a little bit more efficiency around the filter import. So that is something we will definitely be looking at in 2025 from a roadmap perspective.
Okay. Next question. Will we be able to amend the format of the email body? I guess when they're actually sending out reports, they want to be able to add some content to that email.
Yeah, I love that question as well. Again, I'll answer because I have shared the legal slide at the beginning here. When I do talk about roadmap, obviously things can change. That is something we have already started working on, is to provide similar to what you saw as far as an embedded type of Pixel Perfect authoring experience. We're looking at how to best support an embedded HTML type authoring experience that you can also use for the report email body as part of your tasks. Call it the next thing that we're looking at. Associated to that will be actually the ability to have multiple templates as part of a task as well. So as we complete Q4, we are transitioning to work on those activities.
Great, thanks. Next question, and I'm sure it comes up. What is the future of NPrinting?
Certainly NPrinting, a very successful product for our client managed customers. We continue to support it with updates, maintenance releases. We continue to provide quality updates. If there's any security bulletins, we look to address those as well. So you'll continue to see, call it an annual release, and then supporting service releases there. So, really no change. It's a very mature product. Its capabilities are very successful for our customers. And obviously, our customers are asking for reporting capabilities in Qlik Cloud, and we're looking at how we best support those capabilities in Qlik Cloud. So,
great. Next question. When will the Pixel Perfect reporting that you've demoed today be available in Qlik Cloud?
I've given as much as I can today. I can't really, I can't go into specific dates. As I said, keep your eyes peeled for later in Q4. And that will be when people can expect to hopefully unwrap this. That's as specific as I can be for this one, Troy.
That's great. That's great. Next question, and I think we've addressed this in the past, but what are the major hurdles for NPrinting customers trying to migrate those reports and apps to the cloud environment?
It is a big question, right? I think what's visible, certainly in today's session as well, is that we've looked at how those use cases can be addressed in the cloud. And there's even new options, right? So if you think about, I think customers have to start by triaging their capabilities, what requirements they're supporting in printing. I've even spoken to customers who have realized that 25% of the reports should be deprecated. They shouldn't even be in existence. So there's also the capability of that sheet-based reporting capability, and users can drive their own subscriptions. So it really is starting with your business requirements. Something like tabular reports, there's a direct migration path for your templates. You can see you're going to have to introduce tasks and recipient management updates within cloud. In Pixel Perfect, there will be an export capability for those templates in the future as well. So you're just going to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Great. Next question. Where can I find information about installing the Qlik add-in for Excel?
That is all very well documented in our help site, right? So help.qlik.com is the answer for that one.
Perfect. And I'll see if I can find a specific link to that and include it with the recording. Next question. Is it possible to embed reports into the body of an email?
That's similar to the question of advanced email authoring or report authoring, and that is mentioned that it would be in our roadmap that we're starting to work on now.
Is there a limit to the number of reports that can be sent for free? And I guess maybe that leans towards the guardrails.
Yeah, well, no, that's also defer back to your product terms, but also defer back to your Qlik representative as well, because you can right size your reporting service capability with different packages, and you got to work with your account team to identify what your set of reports is. I should also mention, and I'm going to anticipate this question is going to come up momentarily, is how do I see how many reports I've run? In the management console, you can see a basic indicator, but for those who are familiar with the Qlik Cloud monitoring apps, there has just been a release and an introduction of a reporting service app within the monitoring app ecosystem. So do go and check out the monitoring apps on Qlik community. There is now a reporting app there that helps you get a little bit more granular there. And I will continue to collaborate on how to get more information into those environments too.
Great. Let's see if we can get through a couple more. Can reports be sent to groups?
So you saw in the recipient area there's a section for groups. You can define your own groups within the recipient list. So yes, you can use groups in your task-based control. If you had an external DL, essentially, and you put that in your recipient list, we don't filter for that. That again, you can reach anyone with those reports. You're just responsible for knowing who you're sending those reports to. So
exactly. And I love that there was an option there right when you're building reports for groups. Next question. Can reports be generated on demand now? And I feel like you showed that in the side panel that people can use templates.
Absolutely. On demand is there. It was a capability that was updated in, I'm going to say, we approached the summer. And for those in-app reporting capabilities of Tabular and then Pixel Perfect, you'll be able to make those reports available in an on-demand configuration.
Awesome. Do you have any troubleshooting tips when getting the failed to send could not generate error when sending reports via email? That's pretty specific.
So I think I don't have any troubleshoot. Again, it's a situational based thing. But that's where we introduced the task history capability in Q4 to provide better granularity and visibility into what's going on in tasks. Obviously, if you're stuck today, you call support, but do watch for the task history capability to just give you that better lens on how your tasks are executing.
Great. Can users continue to make selections in Excel when using the Qlik add-in?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question for a report developer is I did show it there when I was doing the preview of the report. Report developers should be aware that you're using your active session when you're developing. And so it is recommended that you use filters. You do have to go back to your app, make your selections to reduce your data. And then when you hit the preview, it's going to produce with those filters in place. So for report developers, you're using your active session. When it's the outbound report, it is a static fulfillment of those reports. So those Excel reports are fulfilled with the data set at that time from your source QlikSense app.
The last question we have today, where can someone learn more about building Pixel Perfect reports?
So today is the best information you've got, and until we release it later in Q4. And after that, you'll be looking at our help site, and you're going to see it. There's going to be a very large section for practices around authoring pixel perfect reports. If you want a historical view, you could look at the help site for Qlik NPrinting, but I do encourage you to get excited, anticipate the release of this capability later in Q4.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for today. I think this will be really exciting for people to see what's possible and what's coming. And it's all very cool what's available now when it comes to cloud reporting.
Yeah, and Troy, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and continue to really share that excitement. Excitement is the right term, right? We've been on quite the journey. We're sort of now hitting that really mature cycle of offering a range of flexibility for our capabilities. And customers have a lot of opportunity to address enterprise reporting use cases in the cloud, right? Now is the time to really look at that journey to Qlik Cloud. So keep the great feedback coming. Troy, thanks for having me in today. And I hope everyone's getting excited for what they're seeing coming in Q4.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. And special thanks to Andrew for presenting. We always appreciate getting experts like Andrew to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.